Good morning, children. Today we'll be studying the last topic of this chapter, that is gravitation. So, we have studied a little bit about this gravitational force when we had started this chapter, and we studied about the contact and non-contact forces, right? So we studied a little bit about gravitational forces, right? So either you write gravitational force, we'll be studying about this also, and or you can simply write gravitation. So any two body in the universe, suppose there are these two bodies in anywhere in the universe, mass of first is m1 and mass of second is m2, then Newton said that these two masses will be attracting each other. Okay, both of them will be attracting each other. The force on the first body due to the second one will be having a direction like this, and the force on the second body due to the first. Did you notice how I am writing F12 and F21? The force on the first body, so F1, due to the second, so a 2 is also written over there. So F12, the direction of F12 is towards the second body, and the direction of F21 is towards the first body. Means both are attracting each other. Then this force F is such that it is proportional to the product of the two masses. And suppose the distance between both of these masses is r, then this force is inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. Okay, then combining these two equations, you can write F is proportional to m1 m2 upon r square, or you can write F is equal to, when you replace the proportionality sign with the equality sign, you have to put a proportionality constant. So the proportionality constant here is capital G, m1 m2 upon r square. Right? So this G is known as, now this is the force due to gravitation, we'll be talking about it. G is known as the gravitational constant. Fine. So this is the law of gravitation, that any two bodies in the universe attract each other due to their masses. This force is due to the masses of the bodies. Okay, so if any body is having some mass, it will be attracting the other one. Now you will say that suppose this is a copy and this is a pen, these are not attracting each other, then how are you saying this? Yeah, right. But here in very small masses, we are not able to observe this force because of the value of G. Now let me tell you the value of G. The value of G is 6.67 multiplied by 10 to the power minus 11. Now due to the 10 to the power minus 11, the value of G is very small. So if the masses are also very small, we are not able to observe this force. This is very small, negligible force. Now when I am telling you about the value of G, let us discuss the value of the unit of G also. So as I have told you earlier, see children, now I believe that you should be able to derive the units yourselves. So when I say that the unit of G, you must be able to calculate it from here only, derive it from here. Now see, from here you can write the formula of G. See, G is equal to, from here, F multiplied by R square upon M1 M2. Now what is the unit of F? Newton. Unit of R, we are talking about the SI units always. So meter square, and unit of M1 and M2 both are masses, so kg square. or so this is the unit, right? So you can either write it like this, Newton meter square per kg square, or you can write it as Newton meter square kg to the power minus 2. Okay, so this is the value of gravitational constant, right? So because this 10 to the power minus 11 gives it a very small value, that is why you are not able to observe this force. So this force is mainly observable in case of heavenly bodies, means in case of the planets, okay, in case of heavenly bodies, that is in case of planets and stars and these kind of things. Okay, so if we talk about the properties of this force, the gravitational force, you can say that this force is attractive. Okay, it is directly proportional to the masses, right, inversely proportional to the distance between them, that is r. Okay, these are the main three properties. Then you can also say that it is observable in, like it is written in your book, it is significant between heavenly bodies, right? So you can also write this property, significant in heavenly bodies and negligible or insignificant in normal bodies, light bodies. Okay, or you can say the ordinary bodies. Fine. Now one more thing, in order to define gravitational constant, if you have to see here, if I have to define gravitational constant, what I can do, see, if I take the masses, I'm explaining it here. Let me take masses m1 and m2 equal to each other and let them be 1 kg, and let r be equal to 1 meter. Okay, then the value of g will become, see, if I put the values of r and m1 m2 in this formula, what will it become? G will become f. That means when we can say that the value of g is equal to the gravitational force acting between two masses of 1 kg and 1 meter distant from each other. Okay, this is the definition given in your book also. So instead of learning these kind of definitions, you can simply derive it. Okay, so see, gravitational constant g is numerically equal to the magnitude of force of attraction between the two masses, each of 1 kg, placed at a separation of 1 meter, right? So I told you how you can derive it. Now the other thing, so okay, Newton used these kind of this gravitational force in studying the motion of the planets. So if you think what is the importance of gravitational force, then it is used, or law of gravitation, then it is used to study the motion of planets or satellites, or on the basis of that only the artificial satellites are made. Okay, so it is of great importance for such things. Then force due to gravity. Now see, if there is anything kept on earth, okay, like this is suppose this is earth, okay, everything, we all the objects, everything is kept on the surface of the earth. Okay, it may be kept at some height from the surface of the earth, right? But because the radius of earth is so much, it is so big that these small heights above earth is taken to be negligible, right? So if we say capital R is the radius of Earth, then, and suppose we say, let us say that M is the mass of Earth, right? R is the radius of Earth. Okay, then suppose there is an object of mass small m kept on the Earth, then the force of gravity will be a force of gravitation between the Earth and the object will be F is equal to G m1 m2, so capital M multiplied by small m upon r square. This will be the force between the Earth and the object. But see, the Earth will attract the object with this force, and in the same way the object will also be attracting the Earth with this force only. But because Earth is so heavy, it is not movable, okay, and the object is free to move. That is why we can see the force on the Earth, on the object only, right? So suppose I just drop a ball, or you say I just leave a ball, what will happen? The ball will fall on the Earth, not the Earth is coming on the ball, no? That is because the ball is free to move, it is small, so the force observed on it is clear to us, and the force observed by the ball on the Earth, that is negligible for the Earth. It is so big, so heavy, right? So we say that only the Earth is attracting the object, but actually both of them are attracting each other. Okay, see, it is written over here also. As Earth attracts an object towards it, the object also attracts the Earth towards it by an equal force. Since the object is free to move, it starts moving towards the Earth, but the Earth, because of its large inertia, does not move towards the object, right? So this is it. Now see, I'll show it here in your book only. See, the mass of Earth is this much, 5.96 into 10 to the power 24 kg, and its radius is this much, 6.37 into 10 to the power 6 meter. Then if you put these values over here, and suppose we take a body of mass 1 kg, okay, so put small m is equal to 1, then if you calculate F, it comes out to be 9.8 Newton, right? That means Earth attracts a body of 1 kg by a force of 9.8 Newton towards its center. This you can underline in your book also. Earth attracts a body of mass 1 kg by a force of 9.8 Newton. Now, Galileo observed that if we drop two objects of different masses in vacuum, then both of them reach the Earth at the same time, right? Suppose you drop a feather and say a cricket ball, okay, when you are dropping it in normal atmosphere, what will happen? The feather won't reach fast, no, it will take time to reach the ground, while the ball will reach faster earlier. That is because they both are facing the friction of air, the opposition of the air, okay. But if you do the same thing in vacuum, what will happen? The feather and the ball will reach the ground at the same time, okay, and with the same velocity also. The velocity with which they will reach the ground, that will be same. So Galileo said that all the bodies will travel the same distance, vertical distance we are talking about, okay, we are dropping something, so they will travel the same distance in same interval of time, right? He also said that when a body is freely falling from certain height, then what happens? Its velocity keeps on increasing at a constant rate, okay. That means it is having an accelerated motion. The body is having an accelerated motion, and the acceleration is same for all the bodies, okay. These were the observations of Galileo. So he said that the acceleration on a freely falling body does not depend on the mass of the body. Okay, if we say the acceleration of a freely falling body does not depend on the mass. It does not depend on mass of the body, and it is constant. Okay, so this acceleration, he said that it is called acceleration due to gravity, right? He said that this acceleration is called acceleration due to gravity, right? And we will derive the value, or you have studied it earlier also, that this acceleration due to gravity is denoted by a small g and its value is 9.8 meter per second square. Okay, and what is this acceleration due to gravity? It is the rate at which the velocity of a freely falling body increases. Okay, here you have to mention it that you're talking about a freely falling body. Okay, because acceleration can be in any kind of object which is moving, right? But acceleration due to gravity will be on an object which is falling freely towards the ground, right? So that's it. That's about the gravitation, acceleration due to gravity. Then there is one more thing, a relation between small g and capital G. Right? So see, you already know that F is equal to ma. So if a body is falling freely, then F is equal to mg. Okay, then now you also know that F is equal to gmm upon r square, because there is a force of attraction between the earth and the object, and these two forces are same, right? When a body is falling, the force acting on the body, that is given by mg, and the same force is given by this formula also. So from these two equations we can write gmm upon r square is equal to mg. This small m gets cancelled out, so small g becomes gm upon r square, right? If you put all the values here, you know the value of g, you know the value of m, right? I have told you g is equal to 6.67 into 10 to the power minus 11 Newton meter square per kg square, and capital M, that is the mass of earth, that is 5.96 into 10 to the power 24 kg, and R, radius of earth, is 6.37 into 10 to the power 6 meter. If you put all these values into this formula, you will get G approximately equal to 9.8 meter per second square. Fine. Now there are certain things given in your book which we have already studied in the previous chapters. I'll just give you a briefing of that. You have studied the equations of motion. V is equal to u plus gt. V square is equal to, or the second one is S. Let me write it like that. The second one is S is equal to ut plus half. Okay, let me write it again like this. See, the equations of motion which you have studied is V is equal to u plus at. Okay, where a is the acceleration. Then S is equal to ut plus half at square. Then V square is equal to u square plus 2as, right? Now in case of a freely falling body, What will happen in case of a freely falling body? The initial velocity u is 0 and the acceleration a becomes small g. The acceleration in a freely falling body is due to the acceleration due to gravity, so it becomes g. So what will these relations become? See now, this becomes v is equal to gt and s will become h, because now we are talking about the vertical height. So you can write over here, so s is equal to h. So h is equal to, this term becomes 0, so half gt square, and v square is equal to 2gh, right? So these are the equations of motion for a freely falling body. If you want, you can learn them, or you can simply substitute these values whenever you are doing any numerical. You can simply write these equations, the ones you know from earlier. So you can use these equations and put these values wherever required. Now there is another thing, whenever a body is thrown upwards, okay, whenever a body is thrown vertically upwards, in that case a will become minus g, and in that case u will not be equal to 0, right? In that case u will not be equal to 0, right? So what will be the equations now? V is equal to u minus gt, h is equal to ut minus half gt square, and v square is equal to u square minus 2gh. Okay, so these are the equations derived from the equations you already know. So if you want, you can simply substitute these values whenever you are doing the numerical, or if you want, you can learn them as you wish, but you should know what is the thing going on here. One more thing, in case of vertical motion, at the highest point, whenever you are throwing a body vertically upwards, at the highest point, final velocity v becomes 0. Okay, so as you know the formula, v square is equal to u square minus 2gh. Now at the highest point v has become 0, so u square minus 2g, and h will be the highest point it has attained. Okay, so you can write it as h max. So from here, the maximum height attained by the object you can calculate. H max is equal to u square upon 2gh, right? So these are the same things you can derive. Also, the time taken to reach the highest point, if I say to calculate the time taken to reach the highest point, so you know v is equal to u minus gt. At the highest point v becomes 0, so u minus gt, or you can say t is equal to u upon g. So depending on the questions, you can do these things, you don't need to learn. Okay, now there is another thing, mass and weight. You have studied these things in your previous classes, maybe in 6th or 7th. So mass, as you know, it is the quantity of matter an object contains. Okay, amount of matter, right? Then it is a scalar quantity. Mass is a scalar quantity. Its SI unit is kg, right? Then another thing, weight. Okay, so weight is the force with which a body is attracted by earth, or you can say with which earth attracts an object. Okay, that force will be the weight of that object. It is a vector quantity because it is a force. Force is a vector quantity. Its SI unit is that of force. So it is Newton in the SI unit, and the CGS unit is dyne. Okay, and 1 Newton is equal to 10 to the power 5 dyne. These are the things you have to remember also, because you know that F is equal to ma. Okay, for an object kept on earth, you can say that W is the force with which it is attracted by the earth, so W is equal to mg. So weight can be calculated like this. And there is one more unit of weight, that is known as gravitational unit. Okay, so we also give the unit of weight as kgf or gf. This is known as kg force or gram force. Okay, so these type of units are known as the gravitational units. Gravitational unit. So in order to convert it into normal SI unit, what you do, you just multiply it with the with 9.8. Okay, so if suppose you have an object of mass, say 10 kg, suppose m is equal to 10 kg for an object. Okay, then you can say that the weight of this object is 10 kg force, right? Or you can say the weight of this object is 10 multiplied by 9.8 Newton, or 98 Newton, right? So these are the ways, different ways in which we express weight, right? So there are certain gravitational units of force given in your book. You can just go through these things. Can you see? This is kg force. 1 kg force is the force due to gravity on a mass of 1 kg. Okay, 1 gram force. You can simply go through these things. So most of the things in this topic were already studied by you, so I think it will be easier for you to understand. That's all for this lecture, children. Goodbye.